On paper, the job market now looks solid. Unemployment hit a 54-year low at 3.4% back in January of 2023. And U.S. employers added 2.7 million people to the payroll in 2023 alone. The January jobs report also showed the 2024 labor market was off to a solid start.
When we look at the hard data, it seems to suggest that the labor market has been fairly strong and, in fact, surprisingly resilient, especially after 2023, where we had headlines about layoffs and forecasts of recession. But when you look at the soft data, Americans tend to be a little bit less optimistic about how the economy is doing, and in particular about the job market.
I think a lot of people are underemployed. That's the reason. Like, you have people that have jobs, but they're not happy with the job they have.
Just talking about how the economy's so great, I just want to scream from the rooftops. Then how come no one can find a job?
Recently, unemployed full-time workers applied to an average of 30 jobs.
Wow.
Only to receive an average of 4 callbacks or responses.
If you look at the job vacancies, they're down a little bit, but not down enormously. But if you ask, how hard are you working to fill them? The answer seems to be not very right now.
So why does it feel so hard to get a job right now?
Well, maybe because the companies are expecting there will be like a technology improvement. And so why bring somebody on if technology is moving so fast? Why not just wait 6 months until you can just hire a robot, buy a robot that does it?
Is the U.S. labor market as strong as it seems?
Hi, my name's Jenna Jackson. I'm from Ardmore, Pennsylvania, in the suburbs of Philadelphia.
This job market is like the craziest that I have ever seen.
I was frustrated just with how my job search process has been going. I haven't quantified how many applications I've applied to. It would be a little depressing, I feel, at this point to quantify it. But it was definitely in the hundreds at least.
55% of unemployed adults said they were burnt out from searching for a new job. Younger generations were impacted the most, with 66%
Oh, I see why. Okay, so here's a component that I don't know if they're going to cover in this video. So there's a lot of different types of unemployment. There's like frictional unemployment, and then there's also people who are no longer looking for a job unemployment. And then there's people that have been fired unemployment. So people that are no longer looking for a job are in a lot of cases actually not counted in the unemployment category. So if 55% of people are saying this, and seasonal jobs too. So I don't know if they're going to cover this or not, but you can look at 33%, but if you're not covering those other people, then that's not going to be it. Stupid, but indeed the truth? No, it is. Like, you can look it up and see for yourself. Now, there's different ways of reporting unemployment. There are ways that take that into consideration and ways that don't take that into consideration. I don't know if the way that they reported on this video does do that or not. I am assuming that it doesn't.
Complaining of burnout stemming from job search.
Looking for a job can be a full-time job. There's a lot that goes into it. Filling out applications online can be tedious and can be time-consuming and can be really stressful.
Every day just feels like Groundhog Day. You're waking up doing the same thing.
When I looked at the data, if you just applied to a job through a job board, the odds of you getting hired were about 3%. So you got to apply to a lot of different jobs in order to have a chance to get them. And you're going to get lots and lots of just no responses.
Yeah, sure.
And it's exhausting if you do that.
A 2023 study from Glassdoor revealed that mentions of applicants being ghosted by their prospective employers.
I don't agree with this. This is a bad term and this is a bad graph. Ghosting is a social word. Sorry, it's like a buzzword now, or a slang word. That's what I'm going to say, slang word. So obviously people using the word ghosting was less popular in 2016 because the term wasn't widely acknowledged by the public. So if you're putting it in, this is why would you put this? This is so bad.
Substantially since before the COVID-19 pandemic.
We often hear from job seekers that they send out tons and tons of applications and they don't even hear back. And that can be very emotionally and mentally taxing.
It's unprofessional as well. It's like, especially if you're going to take the time to do an interview with them, you could at least just let them know.
And I think it's because of technology. It's easy to put up a job, and so many people can see that job. So when you get such an overwhelming response, it's often very difficult to get back to every single solitary candidate. Certainly during the Great Resignation, when the market was at a fever pitch, companies were being ghosted by candidates, which is something that hadn't happened as much in the past. So we've seen it happen on both sides of the fence, and I think a lot of it is caused by just sheer volume.
The time it takes for a company to hire an employee also hit an all-time high, at an average of 44 days during the first quarter of 2023. With some industries like the energy and defense sector taking more than 67 days for hire.
The application process has been getting longer and longer, with going through multiple rounds and doing assessments. My worst experience.
I haven't looked for a job in over 10 years. How true is this? It's very true? Okay.
And so far was with a large financial institution where I had a phone screen with them, and I also had a Zoom interview with one of the team members. After that, I had a case study where I was given very vague instructions. They got back to me and said that the team didn't feel like there was enough. They gave me another attempt. In the end, I just ended up just going back to the recruiter and saying, like, I'm sorry, I don't think this is the best fit. Because even if I did move forward and, they were okay with my revision, there still would have been 3 more interviews.
A lot of employers think...
Jesus Christ, that's insane. 3 more interviews. Oh my God. You can't make me believe there's a shortage of jobs in this country whenever there's 23 cash registers at Walmart and only 3 cashiers. What do you mean by that? Because I think that's actually evidence that there is a shortage. Because they don't need to hire 24 of them, because now they just have self-checkout. It's a company thing. Walmart decides to not open the registers or hire more people. Yeah, exactly. I wish I could have experienced the time when you could fucking walk into their building and ask if you can work there, and they go, nah, we're full, or yeah, sure, bro. Well, like Peaky Blinders or something like that. You just walk into the warehouse and say, hey, you guys hiring? And then that's it? Oh, fuck. I don't know, right? I mean... I'm sure there were problems then too.
That doing more interviews is a good thing, and it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Most job interviews are not doing anything important. They don't know that the questions they're asking are going to reveal anything about whether you're a good candidate or not. They don't know when they ask the question what the right answer is. And this is a development that's been going on for a while. It's not a good
I've
thing.
always thought that job interviews were also like, unless you're getting a job at NASA, they're like a vibe check. It's like if this person is like obnoxious or weird, you just don't hire them. It's like, okay, yeah, I mean, like they got the questions right, but they're fucking annoying. And so I don't want to have this person, I don't want this person in the building again. Like that, yeah, a sanity check. I mean, fuck. That's my opinion.
And even
do they
if the
smell
labor
bad?
market was
what do they look like?
Stronger, you would still
they
be
dress?
some of this.
Yeah.
There are generally 2 terms economists use to describe the state of the job market: tight and loose.
Usually when economists talk about a tight labor market, they mean hot, essentially. And mostly what that means is it is difficult for employers to find workers. And so in that context, employers tend to be more hesitant to lay off workers. They tend to try to be more aggressive about how they hire, whether that means offering bonuses or offering on-the-job training. By contrast, a loose labor market or cold labor market is one
I'd
where
expect it was the
there
opposite.
might be layoffs, it might
based
be
off the terms.
hiring freezes, it might be difficult to find a job for
like
workers
loose,
who
you
are
just
either
let as many
already
people in
the
as
workforce or
possible,
workers
right?
trying to enter the workforce.
That's usually what it
for the first
means.
The American labor market has remained extremely tight following the end of the pandemic.
So many companies had to scale back during the pandemic. And then all at once, companies were able to hire again as their businesses started to move. So you had so many job openings happening all at the same time.
Job openings surged to historic highs, while the country continued to struggle from a devastating labor shortage. With so many plentiful job prospects, even working Americans quit their jobs at a record pace for new jobs, in a trend that came to be known as the Great Resignation.
Smart.
But the job market is beginning to show signs of cooling.
There's less of a frenzy on the part of the employers. If you're somebody who wants a job, you would like a frenzy on the part of the employers,
Of
because
course.
you would like to have lots of
Options.
people trying to hire you.
I think
then they're
one
going to have
interesting
better.
thing about the job market right now is that it is strong, but the hiring rate is low, and similarly, the layoff rate is actually very low.
The layoff and discharge rate in the US has been hovering near historic lows.
Like if I was running a company and it was like a tech company, I would be extremely hesitant to hire hardly anybody because of just how fast technology is moving right now. Because like I feel like every 2 years they have to like completely readjust what's happening with like AI and automation right now. It's crazy. Like it's really, really fast. And so it would make sense that they're just kind of waiting and seeing. Don't you know in Starforge? I mean, no, I mean Starforge is like it's manufacturing primarily, right? Like you're putting things physically in a PC. You can't really automate that as easily as you can automate like a code or something. So yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Or like you can have like, you know, self-checkout. Like it's assembly. Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily like that for now. Of course, there's always a for now, right? But like I'm saying right now.
Despite the barrage of layoffs reported specifically within the more visible tech and media sectors.
Yeah. So I think what might be going on here is that employers are hesitant to lay off workers. They're hesitant to push workers out because of their recent experience with labor shortages. Mm-hmm. But on the flip side, that also means that a lot of workers are sitting tight. They're not quitting. They're not being laid off. And so there aren't as many of those opportunities you would normally expect from attrition for folks who are trying to break into those roles.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, research from LinkedIn found that job seekers' search intensity in the US grew by 27% in 2023 compared to the year before. In 2022, there was one open job for every active applicant on the LinkedIn platform.
Well, that seems pretty easy to solve.
The ratio turned to one job for every 2 active applicants.
Right now in the marketplace, what we're seeing is both employers and employees being a little bit more selective.
With search intensity, I would assume that the frequency of the searches and how in-depth they go, like, I don't know. I mean, there's probably a different, like, you can measure that in like 5 different ways that would make sense.
Everybody's taking a little bit more of a measured approach right now, being a little bit more selective in their choices, and that's why we've seen a little bit of a cooling in the marketplace.
Yeah.
However, experts reassure that the cooling labor market is no reason for concern yet.
It is important to have a perspective that's a little more historical on this. You know, if you're hunting for a job right now and you can't find one, it looks like a lousy job market to you. But compared to your
it's going to be for anybody.
Parents' experience, it's a great job market.
I think that sentiment is outcomes minus expectations. So in 2021, 2022, there were labor shortages. Companies were hiring very aggressively. And so even if 2024 is shaping up to be a relatively healthy labor market,
I think that he's talking to like a lot of people's parents probably grew up in like the 70s. And I know like in the 70s, like there was like a lot of really bad economic problems then too. And like the, late 70s and shit. So yeah, Jimmy Carter, basically. So I do think that what he's saying does track. I don't think he's out of pocket for saying that. Okay, so? Well, what he's saying is that their situation was also very bad as well.
By recent comparison, it doesn't feel quite as strong.
A cool down in the labor market was also what the Federal Reserve had intended with its series of interest rate hikes.
If you are the Federal Reserve and you want to slow the economy down, that means you want to slow the markets down a bit. The biggest market is the labor market. You know, if you look at what employers do, where their budget is, it's mainly going to labor. So you can't easily cool the economy down unless you cool the labor market down.
Experts also noted that the health of the labor market will largely rely on where the economy is headed next.
If the economy does slow down more significantly in 2024, if we see a recession in 2024, the labor market can be somewhat resilient, but it can't fully buck the broader economic trends. And so that's definitely something we want to watch out for in 2024. It's not a guarantee that the job market is going to remain as strong. Broadly speaking, we might have some optimism about the economy. That doesn't necessarily mean that the job search is an easy process.
I guess the big thing I would say is it's not you. It's not you. It's happening to thousands of hundreds of thousands of people at the same time.
Yeah.
And it has to do with what's going on in the bigger economy. It has to do with uncertainty, but it also has to do with a lot of quirkiness inside employers about how they handle hiring these days.
It's definitely difficult out there, but I just encourage you not to give up and still keep diving into your network and stay tight with family and friends, just to give you...
I mean, she tried to get didn't she say she applied to like hundreds of jobs? She didn't get a job. I wouldn't take advice from her.
The emotional support, that you might be lacking at the moment, and to give you that confidence that you can do it.
I think that obviously a lot of people aren't looking for a job at all, and so they're not being counted in a lot of unemployment figures. And overall, it makes sense that less people are going to have jobs, because really the amount of jobs that there are for people that don't have like a skilled degree, they're going to be going down because those applications are going to be automated. They already have been in a lot of cases. Like, that's why, like, how many of you guys have gone through a customer support like portal and you've talked to an AI? I've had to do that before. And then, like, if there is a problem, then you get referred to a person. Because, like, they're not really... So this is what's going to happen, is they're going to use these tools to kind of, like, filter in or filter out all of the super easy solution things, right? Like, I lost my password. Can you give me a new password? Okay, this is a simple thing that a computer can do, right? Here, I'll give you actually a really great example that we all know and that works very well. And also, like, we're talking about something like AI. Really, it doesn't matter about AI or not AI. It's really just having technology that's available that replaces the jobs of people that are working there. So, like, here's an example. In World of Warcraft, do you remember whenever you used to have to ticket a GM to get your item restored? Well, now you don't have to do that anymore, because you can just go on the website and there's a list of all the items and you can restore them yourself. So that's a job that GMs had to do, and now they don't do that job anymore. They removed the option. I don't know if they did or not, because there are no GMs. It's automation. Yeah, it's just simply automation. And so automation is going to get better, and that's just what's going to happen. And it will remove a lot of people's jobs from the economy. It absolutely will. Depends on the field. Healthcare is looking bleak right now, but you're still generally secure. Essential jobs are always secure. Fast food and customer service and tech, that's dangerous. Well, the problem with this, and this is kind of like what I'm saying, is that, like, you bring up a really good point, is that fast food and customer service, these are jobs that people that are... Like, this is my opinion, and this might get me in a little bit of trouble, but this is my opinion. I think that people have a certain level of talent points, right? Or skill points. And I don't think everybody starts with the same level of talent points. And I think that you can work hard and get a few extra ones, but there's also a certain degree of RNG, of spawn RNG to it. So the reality is that not everybody can be an engineer, because not everybody can think like an engineer. Not everybody can think on that level. Not everybody can go and be a doctor and memorize everything and understand all of these different diseases and problems and be able to work with people. It's just not going to happen. And so the problem with, like, removing jobs like fast food and customer service is that there is a tremendous amount of people that exist on, like, that lower quarter of, like, just capacity. And it's like, what are those people going to do? Because those are the jobs that are getting replaced very quickly, because these are just simple, like, I need a person to hit a button. Eventually, they will find a robot that will hit that button instead. And so what do you do with all of those people? Because all of those people, like, it's not realistic to expect all of them to go and just, oh, okay, we'll just go get a degree in law and become a lawyer. And also be a handyman. I think that you guys might not understand, like, being an electrician, being a plumber, like, I've seen the way that electricians and plumbers solve problems. They're not stupid. Like, this isn't like, it is not a job that you sit at an office and you're, like, looking over, like, actuarial tables for. But these guys are not stupid. And I don't think that you can take somebody who is struggling at a call center or something like that, and they can't figure out that. You can't put them in a job of a fucking certified electrician and expect things to go well. I really just don't think so. Yeah, they're smarter than college-educated professors I've interacted with. Well, I'll tell you this, right? I've got a friend, Cody, I think it's one of his roommates, is a lineman. Dude was making $98 an hour, sitting on his ass on call, doing nothing, ain't doing shit. But he did have a conversation with me about how some dude got killed on the job, like maybe a few weeks ago. And it's like, this is a conversation point. And so you gotta watch out. But there it is. People thinking blue collar will survive don't understand who's paying for the plumber and electrician. What if they can't pay because their jobs went to AI? Well, I mean, I think you're definitely right about that. But I think that's really what the issue is that we are always going to have like a mass market of unskilled laborers, right? Because there's just people that are stupid and they're not going to get it. Like, you can explain it to them. Like, how many times you guys had played WoW and there's a person that you raided with and you raided with them for 3 years and they've been garbage every year. And you can explain it to them and they don't get it. And like finally, whenever you kill the boss, it's whenever they didn't get the mechanic. It's like you do Mythic Star Augur, they didn't get Grand Conjunction at all during the fight, the boss dies. Thank fucking God. And like, this is like 50, 100 attempts in. It's like, oh my God, you still can't figure this out. How can you deal with this? Or they're not there. Yeah, they put in the work to have those positions. They're smart and they understand they're valuable, much more so than some 8-year degrees. I think that there's a lot of people that are engineers that have 8-year degrees that are incredibly smart, really intelligent, doctors, people that work in finance. But I don't, obviously, I'm not a believer of the, like, if you work with your hands, you're stupid. Right? I mean, come on. Like, who's telling you this? A teacher in high school that makes less than like what some of these guys make in a month, in a year, and they're the ones calling them stupid. Like, they're saying, oh, you don't want to be a garbage man. Well, why not? The garbage men make more than you do. What is this? So yeah, no, I definitely agree with you with that. I think it's a stupid mindset to have. But definitely, I think the big problem is that you're going to have a lot of people that are in these low-skill jobs, and what the hell are they going to do whenever their low-skill job gets turned into a machine? Like, a lot of the people that are working at, what do you call it? They're working at McDonald's. Like, these are people, a lot of times, like, at least where I'm at, they barely speak English. Like, where are you going to put them besides that? Like, after they stop working at McDonald's, where are they going to work besides McDonald's? They're going to go to Wendy's? Well, then Wendy's has it too. You think McDonald's isn't cutting back on humans? I think it is, and that's my whole point, right? Is that McDonald's is a job for people that have like low skill, like low communication skills to work at and to do. But if McDonald's doesn't exist, where do they go instead? And I think it's a huge problem. I do.